Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 16. bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ dṛg-āsavaṁ. bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ dṛg-āsavaṁ. prasanna-hāsāruṇa-locanānanam. 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 kirīṭinaṁ kuṇḍalinaṁ catur-bhujaṁ. kirīṭinaṁ kuṇḍalinaṁ catur-bhujaṁ. pītāṁśukaṁ vakṣasi lakṣitaṁ śriyā. pītāṁśukaṁ vakṣasi lakṣitaṁ śriyā. bhṛtya, the servitor. prasāda, affection. abhimukhaṁ, favorably facing. dṛg, the very sight. āsavaṁ, an intoxication. prasanna, very much pleased. hāsa, smile. aruna, reddish. locana, eyes. ānanam, face. kirīṭinaṁ, with helmet. kuṇḍalinaṁ, with earrings. catur-bhujaṁ, with 4 hands. pītā, yellow. amśukaṁ, dress. vakṣasi, on the chest. lakṣitaṁ, marked. śriyā, with the goddess of fortune. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards His loving servitors, His very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face, decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands, and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, there is a full description of the Yoga Pīṭha, or the particular place where the Lord is in audience to His eternal devotees. In that Yoga Pīṭha, the personifications of religion, knowledge, opulence, and renunciation are all seated at the lotus feet of the Lord. The 4 Vedas, namely Rik, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, are present there personally to advise the Lord. The 16 energies headed by Chanda are all present there. Chanda and Kumuda are the first 2 doorkeepers. At the middle door are the doorkeepers named Bhadra and Subhadra. And at the last door are Jaya and Vijaya. There are other doorkeepers also named Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pundarika, Vamana, Shankukarna, Sarvanetra, Sumukha, etc. The Lord's palace is well decorated and protected by the above mentioned doorkeepers. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitan yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedantas Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are continuing to read about the revelation that Lord Brahma had after he performed tapasya. The Lord revealed to him. And so, in the last two verses we saw, the Lord was with Lakshmi and she was Urugaya Padhayo Manam Karoti. She was Śriyatra Rupinya Urugaya Padhayo Manam Karoti. She was found to be rendering service to the lotus feet of the Lord. And Vigiyamana Priyakarma Gayati, and she was glorifying the wonderful activities of her beloved Lord. And then the next verse, Shukadev Goswami said, Dadarsha tatra kila sattvatam patim shriyapatim yagnapatim jagatpatim. And there Brahma saw the Lord who is the Sattvatam Patim, Shriyapatim, Yagnapatim, Jagatpatim. And he also saw Sunanda Nanda Prabalarhana Adibihi Swa Parshadagraihi Parisevitam Vibhuhu. So he also saw he's not alone and he is being served by his Swaparshada Agraihi, foremost of his close associates. Continuing, in today's verse, Shukadev Goswami is saying, bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ. So he's surrounded by devotees who are ready to offer services to him, parisevitam, surrounded by devotees who are inclined to serve him, parisevitum, vibhum. And the Lord is bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ. He is also looking at his devotees around him, abhimukham, in a bhṛtya-prasāda, in a very favorable way, in a very pleasing way, in a very merciful way, in a very compassionate way. He is looking at his devotees who are bhṛtya. Ekala Ishvaras Krishna Arasabha bhṛtya. Bhṛtya means servants, his devotees. Bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ and dṛg-āsavaṁ. and his sight was asavam, intoxicating. Asavam means stimulating, creating, and it was not a dull thing. It was stimulating. It was intoxicating. It was inducing a certain feeling in those who look at him. You see, that's called asavam, dṛg-āsavaṁ. And he was prasanna. He was very satisfied, very peaceful. Hasa, prasanna-hāsā. And there was a nice smile on his face. Aruna-locana. And his eyes were reddish and ananam. And his face had aruna-locanam, prasanna-hāsā, aruna-locanam, ananam. And kirīṭinaṁ, he had a crown, kirīṭa, kuṇḍalinaṁ, earrings, catur-bhujaṁ, forearms. pītāṁśukaṁ, wore yellow garments. vakṣasi, lakṣitaṁ, śriyā, and he had the mark of Lakshmi. The personality of Godhead seen leaning favorably, prasanna-hāsāruṇa-locanānanam, towards his loving servitors, bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ. His very sight, intoxicating and attractive, dṛg-āsavaṁ, appeared to be very much satisfied, prasanna. He had a smiling face, hasa, decorated with an enchanting reddish hue, aruna-locanānanam. He was dressed in yellow robes, pītāṁśukaṁ, and wore earrings, kuṇḍalinaṁ, and helmet on his head, kirīṭinaṁ. He had 4 hands, catur-bhujaṁ, and his chest was marked, vakṣasi, lakṣitaṁ, with the lines of the goddess of fortune, śriyā, lakṣitaṁ. This is what the darsha, not Brahma, saw. Actually, we conditioned souls, we are mixed up with material energy. And we are not just mixed up with material energy. One of the aspects of the material energy is 3 modes, and they are influencing our thinking, feeling, actions, convictions, determination, all with an idea of lording over material energy. This is the situation of the living entity, the conditioned soul. It's not just the conditioned souls are not just a passive mixture of material nature. Just like you make some poha or something, and then you put some cashew peanuts and some chili, some peas, something. It's a passive mixture. But here there is a soul. Soul is active. Soul cannot be inactive even for a moment. And so it's not a passive mixing of the soul in material nature. The soul is active in the material nature also, under the influence of the modes. And the influence of the modes, they influence differently, but the overall, it is to lord over material nature. In tamoguna, we lord over by laziness and sleep and no energy to do anything. And that kind of a lording. When the living entity is under the influence of the modes of passion, controlling resources, active, lording over, controlling people, controlling energy, material energy in different ways. And sattvic, another kind of lording. Oh, peaceful, I have to be helpful to everyone. I am such a good person. I am going to help others. See? Who are we to help? Anybody? What resources do we have? What ability do we have? Everything belongs to the Lord. So, different kinds of lording, another three modes of material nature. And like this, the soul is completely enmeshed. So to free the soul from prakriti, bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ cha. The bhuta is the living entity. Prakritim is now mixed up. Bhuta-prakriti moksha. To free that one, it requires spiritual potency. Not possible. Daivihesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. So the living entity which is enmeshed in the three modes of material nature and caught up in different kinds of lording, to be freed from that, it requires Lord's intervention. And the Lord is bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ. He's always ready to help. If Krishna, if Narayana is bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ, if he is not bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ, we have no hope. With our own endeavor, we will come out of the material entanglement. That's why in the song we sang a few days back, Nitai na bholile, majilo samsara sukhe. If we don't call out to Nityananda Prabhu, what will happen to us? We will be absorbed in samsara sukha. We should, as devotees, we should fear this. This thought should shudder us. Oh, I can be lost in samsara sukha, material pleasures. Because material pleasure is like that, intoxicating. It will make us once again go back to it again and again. That's what happens, no? People who smoke, after finishing, after a few minutes, again they'll light up another cigarette. After another half an hour, once more. Intoxication means it keeps, the nervous system works in such a way, you want it again, you want it again. Sometimes you know, no, it's not good. Doctor has already told your lungs are all filled up with nicotine, don't. But then after, again, one more. This is called intoxicating. Material pleasure is like that. Will make us visit material pleasure again and again and again and again. And so we can become Majilo Samsara Sukhi. Correct? Nitai na bholile Rajilo samsara sukhe. Become absorbed in material pleasure. And so, when the living entity comes to some sense like us, little sense we have come to by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his instructions, we start desiring, no, I should. Faint desire, not such a strong desire. Again we get an opportunity for sense enjoyment, again we'll jump into it. But if that a faint desire is there, the Lord is bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ. He says, no, here is a living entity trying. I'll be merciful to him. I'll help him. Because māmeva ye prapadyante māyāmetam tarantite. Only when we surrender, he will free us. We are not surrendered, but still he is inclined in a very favorable way. And so he's saying, okay, I'll help him, I'll pull him up, I'll pull him out. This is the nature of the Lord. This is the nature of Narayana. This is the nature of Narayana's expansions, Nityananda Prabhu. And this is the nature of Guru, who is a representative of Nityananda Prabhu. If this mercy is not there, it's not possible. Because, like a very common, simple, common logic, if my hands are tied and I have to be freed, someone who is also freed should only free me. If my hands are tied, if my hands and legs are tied, and I see you also hands and legs are tied, I cannot come near you, I cannot release you. That is why it is said, to come out of the material world, you need the mercy of a liberated person, not one more tied up person. He cannot help much. See? Sometimes we have seen in cinema, I'm sure you all have also seen, in my days I have seen hero and the heroine tied up, and then the villain is laughing, and both are tied up. Then how they can help each other also, if both are tied up? Somehow something should happen. One gets a little freed, then otherwise they just have to remain tied up. Something happens. The cinema. So our position is like that. And so we are Majilo samsara sukhe, and we need a merciful intervention of the spiritual master and of the Lord. And hence, bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ, this attitude of the Lord, very favorably disposed and looking at, waiting to give prasada. If this is not there, there's no hope for us. And dṛg-āsavaṁ, his sight is also intoxicating, which can free us from all other material intoxications. So it's an enchanting, attractive sight of the Lord. Attractive, irresistibly attractive sight of the Lord. That is why being attractive is regarded as the most fundamental and principal feature of the Lord. The Lord has innumerable features. The Lord has innumerable attributes and qualities, But among them, there is the feature of being attractive is a very special feature. Attractive means, what happens? Suppose you come across someone, something attractive. You will stop looking at everything else and you look at that attractive person. That's the meaning attraction, no? Pulls your attention from everything else. And you were doing something, you were talking to somebody, you're talking on the phone, someone attractive came, and your attention is drawn to the attractive person. You see, that's the nature of attraction, irresistibly attractive. If somebody is a very intelligent person, using his intelligence, his intelligence is drawn into so many things. But now he comes across another attractive thing, then he will keep aside. His intelligence also becomes absorbed in it. You see? So, attraction is for the senses, it is for the mind, it is for the intelligence. In every way, it is attractive. That is the meaning of attraction. And so, the Lord has that feature, and hence, Jiva Goswami says, the principal name of Godhead is Krishna. That attractive feature is a principal quality of the Absolute Truth. And that is why, because he is so attractive in the spiritual world, everyone is drawn to him. And we can also be like that, but we have to open our eyes. A blind man will be complaining, what is this? I have not seen the sunlight at all. What can he see? Even if he is in front of sunlight, he cannot see, because he is blind. In the same way, ajnana timirandhasya, we are in ignorance and timira and darkness. Jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militan. The Guru opens our eyes. So, dṛg-āsavaṁ. So, in other words, the object of our worship, the object of our pursuit, the object of our love in our life is dṛg-āsavaṁ, all attractive, all intoxicating. That is the object. It should give us a lot of satisfaction. I'm not looking some dull thing. You see, there are people who are dedicated to so many activities. There is one woman, I forget her name, at a young age, American, at a young age, she became interested in gorillas. Jane Goodall. Ah, you're very well versed in it. Good. Jane Goodall. At some young age, she became interested. Now she's an old woman, or she died? Maybe she died. You have not kept yourself updated. So anyway, and all her life, I've seen pictures of her very young girl, and in her old age, she's still dealing with the gorillas and behavioral psychology of the gorilla. She's written books on that, written theses on that. Whole life, gorilla, gorilla, gorilla. Her object of study and worship all her life is a gorilla after all. You see how people get misled? Similarly, some people, tigers. Tiger India project. Some people in dolphins. Some people cockroaches. All kinds of shark, yeah. So many different things. Some people get interested in. And If we see our own lives also, if we were also interested in something at some point of life, and we could have pursued, but Srila Prabhupada shook us up and said, let absolute truth, personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, be the goal of your life. Isn't it? We could have also been completely misled under the modes of nature. And these are all not unintelligent people. They're all intelligent people. But their intelligence is also influenced by the modes. Their convictions are influenced by the modes. So you see how the living entity is helpless. That's why that BBT art is there. There is person is walking, digging something, and there are strings attached, and the three modes of material nature are pulling like a puppet. When the puppeteer pulls the hand goes up, leaves it down, it comes back, turns the head, it moves like that. We are like that under the modes of material nature. We were absorbed like that, running in this way or that way. And then somehow Srila Prabhupada and the Lord said, no, run this way. It's not a small thing what we have got. Although we have not run sufficiently, but at least we are decided we should run in this direction instead of running in so many other material directions. So it's a very, very special thing. We should always reflect on this and be grateful to Guru and Krishna. Otherwise, what could have happened? bhṛtya-prasādābhimukhaṁ dṛg-āsavaṁ. And here we see the situation in the Vaikuntha. Narayana is sitting and his place is called Yoga Pitha. There's a place in Vaikuntha. See the kind of descriptions and details of information that's available in the Vedic literatures. And that's where Narayana reclines. Narayana is available, giving audience to his loving devotees. And he is surrounded by the Vedas, religion, renunciation, knowledge personified. All of them are ready to serve him. The four Vedas are also ready to give him knowledge. Oh, he doesn't have knowledge, is it? He has to, four Vedas have to give him knowledge? No. They are his agents only. He only gave the Vedas also the knowledge. So they are not apart from him. They are one with him. They are his expansions. His varieties of expansions are there. In the same way, we are also his expansion. Meant to be around him, giving him pleasure. That's why Prabhupada writes in the purport, we are part and parcel of the pleasure of the end. What's that word? I'll read that part. Anyone remembers that? In the third chapter of the Gita, in this one. Yeah, here. Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavan. In that purport, Prabhupada writes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. The Lord made this plan. I will expand myself for my ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and we are part of that plan. What a glorious position we have. But we left that and we have come here, running after gorilla, cockroach, doing this, that, research, big man I am, like that. Such a sad state we are in. Isn't it? Sometimes I look at the cockroach in the bathroom somewhere. Yesterday we were told we had left 1 lakh cockroaches in the old house where we were. Imagine, 1 lakh cockroaches. The owner was telling us, you left 1 lakh cockroaches. So imagine, under the cupboard, under this one, under that one, everywhere, must have been having a big family of cockroaches. Every cockroach has a potential to be an associate of the Lord. How stupid we are, we including cockroaches also, all of us. We are in different forms of life. Actually, this is reality. And the Lord and Prabhupada is saying, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss of the Lord. We belong to that category. But what has become of us? We're thinking, I am man, I am woman, I am poor, I am rich, elevating our material situation. So, we should be basking in the radiance of Narayana, sitting in Yogapita and giving his audience. Instead, we are here in the material world. But in the material world, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has created an oasis of Vaikuntha, like the temples. Yes. And so here now we are able to sit and bask in the radiance of Nitai Gauranga. See? You see, our neighbors, they're all rich people. They're all working very hard to maintain their richness. We are happily here in another big house without much hard work. Of course, Prabhupada wants us to do hard work in the service of the Lord. That we should do. We should not be lazy. So, this is the position of the living entity, and so I'll just read this part. Yesterday, Harinam Prabhu brought this up in the end of the 14th chapter. In the 14th chapter, Krishna is describing the 3 modes of material nature. You see how Arjuna is a very attentive hearer of the statements of the Lord. Arjuna was talking about the 3 modes of material nature, and then he made one statement. Gunan etan atitya trin dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto amrutam ashnute. When the embodied being is able to transcend these 3 modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age and their distresses, and can enjoy the nectar even in this life. Amrutam ashnute. Gunan etan atitya trin. He was telling about the 3 modes. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. Krishna said this. Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yadha drishtanu pashyati. If one is able to see all activities, this is simply the 3 modes of material nature that's making different people act in different ways. Like we were discussing. Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram. There is nothing else, only gunebhyah kartaram. Yada drishtanu pashyati. If one is able to see in this way, then gunebhyascha param vetti. When you see that there is nothing beyond these 3 modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam. Madbhavam gunebhyascha param. My nature, Krishna is saying, Krishna's nature is transcendental. Gunebhyascha param veti. When you know that, so adhigacchati, then you can know my spiritual nature. And that Supreme Lord is transcendental. Mam madbhavam, my spiritual nature, sa adhigacchati. Nanya gunebhya kartaram yada drushthanupashyati gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodhigacchati. Krishna is talking about himself. Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha madhye tishtati rajasah jaganya gunavrittistha adho gacchanti tamasa. So, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know. After saying this, Krishna said, Gunan etan atityatrin dehi deha samudbhavan. Deha is guna samudbhavan. Then janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto amrutam ashmit. When Krishna said that, immediately Arjuna became interested. Oh, Gunan etan atityatrin. Oh, you can rise above the three modes of material nature. And so Arjuna asked the question, Arjuna uvacha, Kair lingais trin gunan etan atito bhavati prabho. So, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? Kair gunais, kair lingais trin gunan etan atito bhavati prabho. What are the linga symptoms by which one can know? Kim acharaha. And a person who is above the modes of material nature, kim acharaha. How is his behavior? How are his activities? Katham chaitam strin gunan ativartate. And how does one transcend? So 3 questions Arjuna asks. What are the symptoms? What are his activities? And how does one transcend? And in the next 2 verses, Krishna answers the first 2 questions. Next 4 verses, 22 to 25. 4 verses, Krishna answers what are the symptoms and what is his behavior. And in the next verse, Krishna answers how to transcend the modes of material nature. We are all under the modes of material nature. How to transcend? What should we do? Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhūyāya kalpate. When we do bhakti yogena sevate, not by other yogas, it is by bhakti yoga. Even if other yogas are in any way effective, because there is a little bit of a touch of bhakti in it, then that yoga also becomes effective. Karma, when we do for the service of the Lord, because Lord comes into our picture of our activities, it becomes karma yoga. And hence, even karma yoga can help us come out. Karma yoga is actually a preliminary stage of bhakti yoga. Very close to bhakti yoga. We'll not go into that today. So, bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan. In this way, brahma bhūyāya kalpate. And the living entity comes to the level of Brahman. Comes out of the modes of material nature. Under the modes of material nature, we were lording over, we had a material attitude, our behavior was in a certain way. Now, Krishna, next he says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham amrutasya avyayasya cha amrutasya avyayasya cha, shashvatasya cha, dharmasya, sukasya aikantikasya cha. This is what Krishna is saying. So Krishna has said that when the living entity comes out of the modes of material nature, sagunan samatityahitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate, he comes to the Brahman platform, Brahman stage. That Brahman stage, that Brahman is established on me, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. And that Brahman stage is shashvatasya cha. It brings an eternal position. Amritasya cha, never dies. Avyayasya cha, is not imperishable. And sukasya, dharmasya sukasya aikantikasya cha. It is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. That's Prabhupada's translation. Imperishable, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So the living entity comes to the Brahman stage, and in that Brahman stage is the constitutional position of happiness, of the highest happiness of the living entity. Now in that Brahman stage, there are further elevation. Once one level of Brahman stage is the impersonal realization. The next is the Paramatma realization. And the further higher is Bhagavan realization. All three are Brahman realization, because you are out of the material world, you are out of the material modes, now you are in another situation, Brahma bhūyāya kalpate. Out of all this, the highest among the three is the Bhagavan realization. Like say somebody is in Bangalore and they want to, they heard the capital of our country is Delhi, and the Prime Minister is there in Delhi. And Bangalore is far away, and from Bangalore the person comes to Delhi. Now he has come very close to Prime Minister. But we are all here in Delhi. How often we see Prime Minister? We also don't see. You have to turn on the television to see what he is doing, whom he is meeting. You see? Still. Next, from Gurugram, we can go to the road. What is that place? I don't know what that place is. Lok Kalyan Marg. Okay. So we will go there. Now we have become even closer to the Prime Minister. You can probably say, I am just 900 meters. You can go outside his house, you can say, I am 600 meters. You stand there for a little while, this guard will come and say, what are you doing? Go. You cannot stand here. He will send you away. Finally, to go further and to meet him and be with him and say, we brought this prasadam for you. And then come away. No, to be with him always. You see? So, but coming from Bangalore to Delhi is a big progress. From Delhi you go to that place is another progress. And there go in front of the house is another progress. And there you go further, be able to see him. Just see him and come away. That's also one level. But to become part of his family, his house, his entourage, that is really, all of this is being close to Prime Minister. In the same way, all of this is Brahman realization, Brahma bhūyāya kalpate, coming to the level of Brahman, but within that Brahman there are gradations. Prabhupada gives an example. Suppose we suddenly realize, say for instance, your uncle calls up and says, my dear nephew, I had some money. I had about 1 crore rupees. I'm just depositing it into your bank account. I don't have children, and I'm about to die. I'm just transferring 1 crore rupee to your bank account. Now when you hear that, oh, I have 1 crore rupee in my bank account, it can give you some kind of a joy. But real joy is you draw that money, buy one house, get a car, take your friends, let's go. And so those activities will give even greater joy. So just knowing that I have 1 crore rupee in the bank account will give one kind of a pleasure. It gives one kind of a satisfaction. But when I draw the money and start using the money, you are exposed to another category of pleasure. In the same way, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate and this is spiritual situation of the living entity is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness for the living entity, not the jada sthiti, not when he was under the modes of meditation. That is not the constitutional position of happiness of the living entity. So that is the distinction the Lord is making. And if we see the Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada is saying, yes, this is. But in this also there is gradation and bhakti, which enables us to go face to face with the Lord. That is the highest pleasure. So these are some of the things. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagvatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki, Sri Nitai Gauranga ki, Go Premanand.